Welcome to the NBA Carousel, brought to you by Sideline Sports in conjunction with Fantasy and Flavors. I'm your host, Megan Price. It was one of the busiest weeks in the basketball world between the two college tournaments and the NBA trade deadline this past week. After the trade deadline, several buyouts occurred as well. But let's go to our first guest, Jordan Long, for the Phoenix Suns. Hey, Jordan.
Hi, Megan.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really, really well. How is the tournament going for you?
Well, other than my bracket being busted, I'm really enjoying actually both the women. I did a women's bracket. Mine's totally busted there, and the men's. Of course, I mean, you got to love these upsets. What was it on Sunday, the Arkansas game going down the wire? I mean, unbelievable.
Great game, really great game. The UCLA game was pretty good last night. That went into overtime as well. I was kind of flipping back between the UT girls game and that game. So very exciting tournament this year. But talk to me about your Phoenix Suns. You guys are still in second right now. You're 31-14. Talk to me.
Well, last night we actually played the Charlotte Hornets. We were up 76-67, and we even had the lead of 88-76 with 5:24 left to go, and the Hornets went on a run. We've been doing this, though. They went on a 14-2 run. We've been doing this on the road trip. We get these leads in the fourth quarter, and I don't know if it's the fact that we sit back, but we let teams get back into games. But in that fourth quarter, I will say the Suns, we were 6 of 23 shooting, 26.1%. While the Hornets shot 52.9% in the fourth quarter. Of course, we all know the fourth quarter means a whole lot in every single game. So that's where your players want to step up. And, of course, the Hornets did it, and we didn't. But in the extra session, we actually outscored them 11-7 to take the game 101-97.
Well, good win. I think that's probably their first loss since Melo was injured. Is that right? I think that's right. Let's see. Booker had 35, 3 and 6. Chris Paul had 16, 1 and 2. That's good. Ayton had 14 and 14. Huge on the rebounds right there. I would like to see his points up there a little bit more.
Yeah, but what I'm more concerned is Chris Paul. 1 assist. That is not Chris Paul.
I agree.
He's more of an assist guy that gets 6 or 7. I don't know if it was a Charlotte defense or the fact that couldn't find anybody, but still 1 assist, that's not great.
It looks like
the other thing I want to point out.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say Frank Kaminsky didn't even play. That's the second game in a row. He didn't even get any minutes.
Is he injured, or are y'all just deciding to go a different way?
I'm guessing he's falling out of the rotation with Jay Crowder playing so well.
Okay. Yeah, and this game, now Crowder didn't have a ton of points, but he had 4 assists and 8 rebounds. So he still had a presence on the court, even if his points weren't quite up there. Good for him. I know he's a veteran. He's a little bit older of a player, but, like to see him do well. Was there anybody that's been playing over the last, 2 or 3 games that stood out that surprised you?
Not really. I mean, we did make a trade 11 days ago to get Tory Craig, and actually from the Bucks, and he's actually helped our team out fairly well. I saw him with the Denver Nuggets. He's a great defensive player, and his presence off the bench has definitely helped the Suns in that aspect.
He had 9 points, 1 assist, and 4 boards in 21 minutes of play. So very, very decent amount of plays right there. I like that for you guys. Were y'all a part of the trade deadline at all, or did y'all not make any noise trade deadline wise?
We didn't make any noise. I mean, the first trade was Tory Craig, but that was 11 days ago before the trade deadline. Right. And I figured we'd stand pat. I mean, we're second in the West. How much more can we actually improve the team? I mean, the Jazz didn't do anything as far as I know, but we're just trying to get up back to the Jazz so we can have the first seed. I think we're 3 games back right now. So it's still a run to get the first seed. Whether or not we don't, it's okay. We're just trying to avoid playing them in the first round.
Are you
First and
concerned with
second
the
round.
Are you concerned with the Lakers picking up Drummond?
Not really. I mean, Drummond is a good player, don't get me wrong, but that team goes through LeBron James, and he's been hurt, and Anthony
Right.
Davis. Drummond is a nice piece for them, don't get me wrong. He's a big man to help with those injuries. But right now, I'm not worried, but once they're healthy, I would be afraid, especially if they end up being the 7th seed and actually have to play us because of the fact that they are so good defensively and offensively.
Right, and both of their star players, if we're taking Drummond out the situation, but their star players that are injured, if they come back healthy, we know that there are different machines come playoff time.
Well, that's certainly true. We saw it last year when they didn't run the table. They went all the way to the NBA Finals and won it. But the fact of the matter is that I think it's a good pickup for the Lakers for those two players injured. But is it really going to help that much? I don't know. The proof will be in the pudding.
Absolutely. Who do y'all play this week?
We actually, I think our hardest game is tonight against the Atlanta Hawks. Then we play Wednesday in Chicago and then Friday against the Oklahoma City Thunder. The nice thing about the Atlanta Hawks is they are coming off a back-to-back where they did not play very well against the Denver Nuggets. We're going to get their best shot because they want to get that sour taste out of their mouth.
Right. I think the Hawks is going to be a pretty difficult game. They've been playing really well ever since they fired their coach, honestly. I think they went on a 9-game win streak, and then they lost one game. I think they won another game and then lost one more game. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think that's about right. So, I mean, they're still on a pretty good run right now. Who was it that they picked up in the trade? Lou Williams. We'll see how that goes. I think that he's going to play well there. I think he's at home in Atlanta as well as, if he was out in LA. I think he's going to give it his best shot. I don't know if he continues to play with them after this season, but I think he's going to go in there and he's going to give it his best shot. So Atlanta is going to be a pretty tough game for you guys. What about the Bulls? They got Vucevic.
The Bulls to me, they're a hot and cold team. I mean, they can play really well, especially since they do have Vucevic, which is going to help. But then there are games where they don't shoot very well, don't defend. And those are if we get the cold Chicago Bulls, we'll win. But if Vucevic is hitting their shots and, their team comes together and plays well team basketball, which is what they like to do, they would be tough to beat. But I'm not totally concerned about the Bulls.
Okay. Interesting. I do think the Bulls are going to make a push. What are they right now? Are they in playoff contention? Hold on one second. Let me look. Eastern Conference. The Bulls are in 10th, and they're 19-25, but the Pacers are 21-23 right above them. And the Heat are 22-24. So I think they will be able to make a playoff push. I don't know if I see them getting past the 8th seed. I don't know. I think they're still going to be a tough team to beat. We'll see. I don't know if it's going to be this week, but in a week or two, once they start gelling together, those two players, Levine and Vucevic, I think that they will be a tough team to beat, but maybe not this week.
No, that's what I'm hoping for. I mean, Levine is a great player on all his own, and adding Vucevic definitely helps. But you're right; they're going to need some time to gel.
I agree. All right, Jordan. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Good luck on y'all's games this week and then with your tournament. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, your own projects, and we'll see you back next week.
Okay, thanks, Megan. You can follow me on Twitter at @SportsScoop1, and I have my own blog that I write Monday through Fridays at sports-scoop.com.
Thanks, Jordan. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move over to a team in the East. Actually, the team that was the sons of Hornet last night, the Charlotte Hornets. We have Will Vogel covering them. Hi, Will.
Hey, Megan.
How you doing?
I have been keeping up with the UConn women's game, but I really don't know what's going on with the game now.
Oh.
Unfortunately.
Well, talk to me about your Hornets for a little bit, and I'll look up the UConn girls and see what they're doing.
I hope they're getting buckets. They were down at half. Anyway, we played our first game. To recap, is we played the Spurs, and P.J. Washington had a double-double. Gordon Hayward had 27 points. Rozier had 24 points. And we held Murray to 9 points in 34 minutes. Rudy Gay to 10 points in 25 minutes. And Patty Mills to 10 points in 32 minutes. So that's really big.
That is big.
All those players are really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Generally, the Rudy Gay and Patty Mills, now 10 can be an average game for them, but they're known to get up there in the 20s sometimes. And 15 to 16 is pretty average, so you did hold them to fewer points than normal. The game right now is Baylor up, and it's 45 to 42 right now.
What quarter?
Third quarter.
Oh, I have confidence in our girls still.
Yeah, 6 minutes left in the third.
And then we played the Rockets after that. The Spurs was a win. The Rockets was a win. PJ got another double-double. Devontae had 21. Rozier had 25. And then Monk had 19 points off the bench. And he's been producing so well off the bench lately.
He really has. Let's see. Graham had 30 points against Charlotte last night. Awesome. Rozier had 22 and 10.
Yeah.
Those rebounds.
And Bridges had
huge.
a double. And Bridges had a double off the bench, which is huge. Also,
absolutely. And now I think that is huge. And he had 12 boards as well. So big game for him. And then I saw PJ Washington had kind of a slow night on points, but his presence was still felt. He had 2 assists and 12 boards. Rebounds are absolutely very important. So, I mean, even if he wasn't the one getting the buckets, he was there facilitating them and causing the plays to happen. Was this y'all's first loss since LaMelo was injured?
It was, yeah. And it was crazy. Like Jordan said, we went on a run in the fourth quarter and we sent it to OT. It was a tough loss, but you know what? It's a loss you can learn from because it's a great team in Phoenix. They're the second best team in the West. The very tough West. And we fought hard to the very end.
Right. Well, and you know what? Obviously, both you guys can play some defense because it was an overtime game and the scoring was quite low. So tough loss, but who do you guys play next?
We played the Wizards, I think, tomorrow. So I'm expecting a win there.
Okay.
Then we played the Brooklyn Nets on TV. I think it's a national TV game on Wednesday or Thursday, but we're not. I don't think we're gonna win that. If KD and those guys play, we're gonna lose that game. But I don't know. We'll see about that game. Then we play the Pacers, who's a shaky team, and then we end with the Celtics, who I don't think we'll beat them, but who knows? I want at least 2 or 3 wins on this. On this week.
Well, Kevin just for our Cleveland rep said that KD is out for a week, but Irving and Harden are ready to play.
Yeah, so I think they'll give Rozier and Graham fits. So I'm not expecting us to win the Nets game.
What do you feel about the LaMarcus Aldridge pickup with Brooklyn? Do you feel like he's going to be able to fill in somewhat whenever KD needs to maybe workload manage?
I don't think he'll put up the KD-like numbers.
Well, no.
But I think he could help. I think he could help.
You know what? Blake Griffin's last game, he had 17 points. So I guess I have to eat a little bit of crow. I'm not a big Blake Griffin fan, but great game. Hope he's able to continue his career and keep it going for a while.
And we actually did make some news on the trade deadline, actually.
Oh,
we made one move. We got Brad Wanamaker, a role player point guard, which he's not a big addition, but hey.
Right.
He is a good role player. I like him a lot.
He is a good role player, and he gives your bench some depth. So no hating on that. You know what? You guys have a really decent team. You're in 5th right now. You see, what is your record? You're 23 and 22. So you're right above 500, and you're in 5th. You're going to the playoffs, and it's the first time in how long?
Oh, jeez. I don't even remember. Maybe 5 or 6 years.
So it's been a while since y'all been to the playoffs. It looks
Yep.
like you guys are going to go to the playoffs.
I was at our last playoff game series. That was fun. We should have advanced.
Jen says it was 4 years ago.
Oh yeah, we played Miami. Yep.
Oh,
And
okay.
we carried them till 7. Thank you, Jen. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jen.
Well, you know what? I think you guys have a lot of good energy. Do you feel like LaMelo will come back this season at all? Do you think he'll risk it or no?
As much as I want to see him come back,
Mm-hmm.
you always have to be careful with stuff like that. Like a wrist injury, you have to know you carry the basketball. You dribble the basketball all the time. You can't like avoid touching the basketball. But I would love to see him come back, but I wouldn't rush him back because I think even next year and the year after, if he stays with the team, which I think he will for maybe 3 or 4, 5 years, if this team could keep adding to this young core that's like energetic, like Gordon Hayward and Devontae and Malik and Terry and LaMelo and PJ and Miles, then like we're gonna make playoffs for years to come. So I would love him to come back, but I don't want him to rush himself back and say, "Hey, I need to play in this playoffs or else we're screwed." Well, I'd rather have a healthy LaMelo than a half-healthy LaMelo who can have a risk of re-injuring that wrist.
Right.
And then missing the start of next year. So I want him to take his time.
Right. And we're not talking about, his left hand. We're talking about a shooting hand, and it's right here.
Exactly. It's fractured wrist.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you so much, Will. Why don't you let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and good luck on your games. Let me check the score for you real quick.
Yeah, come on, Husky girls. What's it?
47-44. The Bears are still up.
Come on. Well, you guys can find me here on Monday nights. I'm either covering the Charlotte Hornets or the Utah Jazz. Either or, it just depends. You can find me on Saturday nights on the Sip Off. I should be talking about UConn women. If not, if they don't advance, I'll still preview the next Final Four and give my thoughts on that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Will. We'll see you back next week. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move over to one of these teams that made a whole lot of noise after the trade deadline. We have Steve representing the Brooklyn Nets. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Megan. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Well, let's see. I got an Elite Eight women's game on one TV, an Elite Eight men's game on another TV, and an NBA game on my laptop. I'm doing pretty darn good.
Right. Basketball.
Love it. Yeah. So yeah, it's going really well, and just everything that the Nets were doing, we kind of had to talk about them tonight, didn't we? I mean,
absolutely. You normally cover the Golden State Warriors for us just because Steph is so exciting. We didn't have a rep for them, and you got to have somebody to talk about Steph Curry.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Like you said, Nets made so much noise. Not only like right after the trade deadline. Before that, they picked up Blake Griffin.
Sure.
You know what? You guys picked up two guys that I just didn't have a whole lot of faith in, to be honest. But you know what? Blake Griffin had a really good game. His last game, he had 17 points. That's awesome for him. I'm not exactly sure how many minutes he played, but I want to say it was like around 20 some odd minutes.
It was 20. So, yeah, it was. You're exactly right. He had 17 minutes and 20 points. 20 minutes, 17 points.
Right.
Where he hadn't played well yet for them.
Right.
He had 2 points his first game and like 8 points his second game. Then of course he took the back-to-back night, the second night of a back-to-back off because of course he did. And then he came back against the Pistons in Detroit and had 17 points in 20 minutes. And here's the thing quickly on the Blake Griffin hate. So some of it's not his fault, obviously. It's not his fault that the Clippers were stupid and gave him $172 million for 5 years in 2017. It's not his fault that my beloved Pistons were stupid and traded for him. So there's a big difference, obviously, between when you're making, when you're getting, what is he now? when you're 11 and when you're a 12.6 rebound a day guy, you're not bad. Obviously, first of all, nobody's in the NBA is bad, but
No.
like you're not a scrub if you're averaging 12 and 6, but you don't deserve $34.5 million a year if you're getting 12 and 6. And that was the problem. It was the old MLB, like Albert Pujols, Miguel Cabrera contract, where they give you a 20-year contract when you're 30. Like, yeah, you're doing well now, but at the end of the year, at the end of the contract, it's going to be terrible. And that's exactly what happened to Blake Griffin. The Clippers paid him for what he already did. That 24 and 25 points, 8-9 rebounds a game, Blake Griffin. They paid him for that, what he already did moving forward, and he just isn't that guy anymore. Now, of course, against the Pistons, he wanted to give a big FU to Detroit and show that he is that guy anymore. And in 20 minutes, he can do that a little bit, but obviously he's not going to be, your guy. And I saw he came out, it was either yesterday or the day before, about how he thought all this hate was funny because, for 2 years, all he heard that he was terrible. He was terrible. And then he signs with the Nets, and now everyone's like, oh, the Nets are getting the super team, right? And but you have to remember, there's the difference between being the face of a franchise and being a team's fifth best player. So if Blake Griffin's your best player, you're missing the playoffs, like the Pistons have done the last
absolutely
forever. But if Blake Griffin's your fifth best player, and especially with LaMarcus Aldridge, who I know you're a huge fan of, you have LaMarcus Aldridge memorabilia all over your house. But, sarcasm. But if just imagine an offensive lineup when the game is on the line with Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Aldridge, and Blake Griffin, and just the options that you have, what you can do. You could run a pick and roll with Kevin Durant with Blake Griffin setting it, where you literally have James Harden in one corner to shoot a three and Kyrie Irving in the other corner to shoot a three. Really hard to defend. Obviously, tons of options. Now, what I'm still concerned about, obviously, KD's not back yet. He's at least a week away. He is playing in 4-on-4 drills, they say, without any problems, so that's positive. LaMarcus Aldridge is still out tonight. He's not playing tonight and has not played yet for them. So we'll kind of see how he fits in. But again, he's not going to be 15 and 10 LaMarcus Aldridge. If he plays 12 minutes a game, it's good. So y'all
don't need him to be that. Neither Blake Griffin or LaMarcus Aldridge should be that. You really just kind of need to fill in whenever KD's not healthy. And they do have DeAndre Jordan. Don't get me wrong; they have a little bit of center depth. And I'm also not a huge fan of DeAndre Jordan, but it's like the minute I talked about DeAndre Jordan this season, he started balling out. So I got to give him credit.
You know what all three of those guys have in common is obviously they're all bigger bodies, and to me, and all Megan hates them all, but no, they all have 6 fouls on Joel Embiid. So. I 100% believe that the Nets picked up both Aldridge and Blake Griffin because they expect Joel Embiid to be healthy. Obviously, hopefully he comes back healthy. Because if all things are healthy and equal, which obviously who knows if all things are going to be equal with COVID and everything, shutdowns, who knows. But everybody can make their moves and their flashes. The East has 3 possible teams. Obviously, the Bucks, 76ers, and the Nets. Those are the only 3 teams that have any chance to actually come out of the East. So to me, the Nets did this because worst case scenario, LaMarcus Aldridge is a big body that they can throw out to get 6 fouls on Joel Embiid. Same thing with Blake Griffin. Same thing with DeAndre Jordan, because you still got to be able to defend people. And that's still my worry for the Nets. Yes, they score 119 points or 115 or 119 points a game. That's second in the league. That's super fun. They give up 115 points a game, which is 26th in the league. So eventually, especially in the playoffs, slower games, each possession means more. You got to, beat a team 4 out of 7 times. The scouting's better. You're prepared. The counters to their counters, all that stuff. You still got to be able to stop somebody. That's why, truthfully, the 2 most important players on the Nets is Joe Harris shooting well and Bruce Brown defending well, because Bruce Brown is really the only on-the-ball wing defender on that team. And obviously there's a lot of athletic long wings in the NBA. You need to have that wing defender. And Bruce Brown is the only one, DeAndre Jordan, those guys, they'll get a couple blocks or whatever, rim protectors. But as far as on the ball, I'm going to shut you down in the perimeter. He's pretty much their guy. So those two guys are really the most important pieces. And then what does James Harden do once Kevin Durant comes back? Because James Harden has been incredible, and I'm the farthest thing from a James Harden fan, but he has been incredible so far this year. Will he go back to just being second or third fiddle, or will he not want to defer to KD? Luckily for him, I mean, KD is plug and play in anybody, if you have a 7-foot basically two guard. So he can basically play anywhere. But that's my question marks, my concerns. But yeah, the Nets are going to get a lot of hate because you pick up Aldridge and Blake Griffin. But really, yeah, you're not picking them up to be Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge from 3, 4, even 2 years ago. You're just picking them up to play a 10 to 15 minute role a game for you as a body, as a rebounder. You hit a couple of 17-foot mid-range jump shots, great. But obviously they're playing Minnesota tonight. Kyrie had 15 points in the first quarter. So scoring is not going to be their issue. They don't need Blake or LaMarcus Aldridge to go for 25 or anything like that. So, I mean, they're going to be fine, obviously, during the regular season. I'm just interested to see what they do in the playoffs, especially with Steve Nash is still a rookie head coach. So kind of looking forward to seeing how that goes once we get there.
I completely agree with your take. And it's not that I dislike LaMarcus Aldridge like that. Like, he's a really likable person. He's really nice, like he has a great personality. But, we needed him to be that big player in San Antonio. He was basically all we had left after Kawhi left. We had DeMar and we had LaMarcus, and that's it. And so we needed him to carry the team on his back. And he wasn't able to do that. He's aging, and nobody beats Father Time. Nope. He's 35 years old. Yeah. So best wishes to him, and a role player is going to be his best role at this moment. So I'm happy for him. I'm also happy for us to have the open spot on our roster. I saw a rumor that we might pursue Jarrett Allen. So, in the off season. So that would be awesome. That would be the type of energy that we need for that kind of a big three right there,
Yeah, the Spurs are obviously going in a different direction. They become younger. They have some promising pieces too. So yeah, they'll get right back out there.
We have a question from one of the other guests, and it says, the Nets have a lot of bigs like the former Cavs. Any thoughts on how they're going to use all those big name bigs? Should Jeff Green still start above those guys?
Man, that's a great question. Do I think Jeff Green will start? I think if it's a playoff game, it's a series, an important game, I think the five names probably end up starting. But I think the biggest question mark is not going to be who starts the game. Truthfully, to me, it's going to be who ends the game. If it's a close game, do they go small and put Durant at the 5 with maybe or Blake at the 5 with Durant, and then Joe Harris, Harden, and Irving for offense? Do they go super big and have Durant, Aldridge, and Blake Griffin? I mean, what do they do, offensively down the stretch, and most importantly, obviously, defensively down the stretch? Is anybody going to be able to stop anybody? But I do think that eventually Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge will start. But I think it's a good possibility that you'll see a couple of minutes here, a couple of minutes there, and basically they'll start just because of their name. But to me, I think it would be smarter if they don't start and they come in at the start of the second quarter, and then they come in, midway through the fourth and kind of be your finishers, and finish with that lineup more than start with that lineup, because obviously they're not going to play 30 minutes a game. Neither one of them are. So you're not going to get them to play 30, 35 minutes a game. It's just not going to happen. So that's why I kind of think that Aldridge, Jordan, Blake, and heck, throw in Jeff Green, all of them combined, they're going to keep throwing fresh bodies at Joel Embiid and people like that. Even Giannis, keep throwing, and when you're on Giannis, obviously they're going to play off of Giannis and make him shoot, and just packing the lane with those guys and try to stop him if he penetrates. So I do think that that's going to be more. That's what I care about more, is who ends a close game. If you're the Nets, not who starts the game.
Well, Steve, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, but also whenever KD comes back, would you mind covering the Nets again for me? Because I love to talk about KD.
Yes, I can absolutely do that, and not a problem. And yeah, they do have the Minnesota tonight, and they're up, and then they have Houston Wednesday, which should be an easy one, and then they do have Charlotte, which we just talked about on TNT on Thursday night, and then they actually finish. They're actually at Chicago on Sunday, which after the Chicago moves, that might be an interesting game too. But obviously, Chicago still has a ways to go to really be a contender, but that might be an interesting game. But yeah, easiest way, All Eyes on You Hoops is my Twitter handle, or SMan1720 is my personal one. But I do a NBA podcast every Tuesday night called Flagrant Friend. We record it about 10 o'clock-ish as we watch games Tuesday night, and then it gets up right away or early Wednesday morning. So that's the easiest way. And then also here Monday nights whenever Megan tells me to, about the Wizards, the Warriors, the Nets. If we want to talk, women's basketball, men's basketball, I want to talk Midwest AAU basketball. I don't care. Either way, anything about basketball, that's where you'll find me.
Thanks, Steve, so much. We'll see you back next week.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
You too. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and keep it in the East, and we're going to bring on Cool McCain, our Bucks representative. Hi, Cool.
Hello, Megan.
How you doing?
Pretty good. Interesting week this week.
Absolutely. So you guys have made some news today.
Yes, we did.
Who'd y'all pick up?
So we picked up Jeff T. A lot of people thought, and we still may pick up Austin Rivers as well. Drew Holiday's had a knee injury, so I'm not sure how much time he's going to miss. So having another veteran point guard or two would be very beneficial. So I think it's a good move in the buyout market. We obviously weren't going to make any more trades, but we did have spots left. So it was a no-brainer to go out and kind of find someone to fill, a role of need for us in the buyout market. And I think Jeff Teague's a good guy for exactly what we're going to need down the stretch and in the playoffs. So great pickup. Hopefully we get Austin Rivers too, but if not, I think we'll still be, good to go.
I did not know Austin Rivers was actually available. I know he plays for the Knicks right now. Oh, he got waived. I didn't know.
Yeah, he got waived.
Interesting. Very interesting. I did not know that. Okay, and so the big name as far as how do you say their last name?
Antetokounmpo.
Okay, well, the big name was not Giannis this last game. It was
Giannis. Yes, it was.
Yes. He had a 23-point game. He had 5 assists and 10 rebounds. Huge game for him. Yeah,
it was great to see. He's a high-energy guy. Plays hard when he gets minutes with, the injury and then some differences in the rotation. It gave him a chance to play more, and he definitely took advantage of, the opportunity, and that's pretty much what you want to do. Anytime you get on the floor, you want to show that you should be playing more. If you don't play more, you can't control it. But when you're out there, you push for time.
What were you most impressed with this? Because I'm looking at the lineup, and it looks like, mostly y'all's bench.
Yeah. I'm very pleased anytime the bench, and they did do a good job of that, and then other guys that may not score as much, they've done a great job of being able to flip it and have games where those bench guys score. Giannis only had one game over 30 points this past week. So that was good, and that's encouraging because, again, the thing with them is, once you get to the playoffs, teams' thing is going to be exactly what you were talking about in regards to the Nets with the last guest. They're going to try to pick the lane. They're going to try to take Giannis out of the game.
Right.
Chris Middleton is going to consistently give you points. If he's healthy, Drew Holiday will as well. But on top of that, where are you going to get more points from? So you come to a point where you say, well, when those other guys can give points, then that's a bonus because it says, okay, there's a lot more people that we need to stop. If we try to focus on Giannis, we still could get defeated.
Absolutely. And so were Middleton and Giannis just resting this game?
Yeah, you had a thing where they had a couple of games next to each other. They had the real close game against Boston, so it was one of those games where kind of give some of those guys some rest. More big games coming up. You want to keep them fresh as possible because it's really condensed this year. I know a lot of people are against the whole load management thing, but let's be honest. Right. When you're looking at their schedule, this is the one game that you could afford to kind of do that and it not affect the team too much. Hey, you lost it, but it is what it is. 2-2 this week. But like I said, split with Boston. Had I known that we were going to kind of take it easy against the Knicks, I may have went differently on that on that game. But hey, we're still looking good. We're still in third.
I mean, but if you guys,
so they're not pulling away.
If you guys can get 96 points against the Knicks, if y'all's bench can get 96 points against the Knicks, that's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So who do y'all play this week?
So this week's actually going to be very, very interesting. We're going to start off. I think tonight we're playing the Clippers. Okay. So that's going to be, a big game for us. Obviously, one that we're going to want to try to win. That's tonight at 10. We're playing the Lakers on Wednesday. That shouldn't be a difficult game, not the way that they look right now. Friday, we're playing the Trailblazers. And then Saturday, we're playing the Kings. So
how do you feel about Portland? Like, they picked up Norman Powell from Toronto, but in exchange for Trent Jr. How do you feel about that matchup right there?
Well, I tell you, I was more concerned when they had Rodney Hood and Gary Trent Jr. than just having Norman Powell. I'm kind of confused on that trade.
I am too.
I mean, I guess it does make them possibly slightly better because Powell's having a really good year, but you gave away two guys that were pretty good pieces for you. Rodney Hood's played well everywhere he's been. He did have the injury last year, so he's kind of working his way back from that. But I'm kind of surprised that you gave both of those guys up essentially for Norman Powell. And it's not to knock Norman Powell as a player, but I don't think he is an improvement over those two guys.
I agree. And I want to say, is Norman Powell's older? Isn't that right? At least than Trent Jr. So, I didn't quite understand that trade either. But let's see, Nourish came back 2 games ago, I believe. So, they're back at 100%, and Dame is going to be able to take a little bit of a backseat. Now, he's still going to be your top scorer most nights. He's still going to be that playmaker, but, he's not going to have 40 and 50-point games for them to win.
Right. I think definitely our 2 biggest games this week is the Clippers game tonight, which is really 50-50. I haven't been able to read if Rondo is going to make his debut tonight or not, but I think he's going to bring a new dimension for that team, but it'll take a little bit of time for him to gel. So that's a 50-50 game. I think the Trailblazers game is probably, when I look at our games this week, the game where I say, this is one that we might lose, and if we lose it, I'll be okay with losing that one. But I do think we can go, 3-1, maybe 2-2 this week. Like I said, if you can stay at 500 or better for the week, you're doing pretty good right now in my case. And you just got to hope that the Sixers and the Nets also have a couple of losses, so that way we can still kind of hang around. Want to fight for that number 1. Absolutely.
Now, I know you said you end your schedule with the Kings, and the Kings made some interesting moves on the trade deadline day. They got somebody from Toronto as well, and just made a couple of moves. I'm interested to see how they look next season. So I don't think they're quite going to be that, they're not going to be a team to beat this year, but I'm interested to see what they look like next year, because it seems like they're making a little bit of noise over there. So watch out for a trap game.
Definitely. But I think after coming off of that Trailblazers game, I love the way it's placed in our week, because I think that Trailblazers game is going to be a very intense, high energy game for us. So I think win or lose, that'll be a game where we'll come off of, especially if we lose and say, you know what, we got to beat Sacramento. We can't go out here and lay down for those guys.
Right. Absolutely. All right, cool. Well, let's go ahead and actually move over to your second team that you're doing this week. We have you covering the Nuggets as well, which I know you're a huge fan of. They made some huge noise for the trade deadline.
Yes, they did. So I have to say, with the Nuggets, it's one of those things where you say to yourself, this is not a team that normally makes a lot of moves. So when it's a team that you support, you're kind of thinking, it would be nice. You hear the rumors about Aaron Gordon, you're like, yeah, but is Denver going to really do it? Because they don't normally make moves like this. We normally stay pat. Last big move for this was the Carmelo Anthony trade, and that was, 12, 15 years ago. So it's been a while since we made any kind of impact move, especially during the season. So, the first move, of course, was bringing back JaVale McGee. Mm-hmm. So he got an opportunity to come back and, that was a great pickup, because we gave up Hartenstein for him. And Hartenstein, while he did his best, he's just not what we need as a backup center. So to be able to move him and bring in someone that kind of fits more what we need at that position, has a little bit more athleticism, even at his age, and also has still that ability to get to the rim and score. The shot blocking, understands the game now, is more of an elder statesman, can be a mentor for some of the young guys. That was a good pickup there, and I love that. I was very excited about that. So I thought, well, that's probably about all they're going to do, And then I hear the Aaron Gordon rumors, and then lo and behold, they trade for him, And honestly, I'm not just impressed with the trade, but I'm impressed with what we gave up. We gave up Gary Harris, who we will miss, but he's injured a lot. He's been injured a lot the last couple of years. And then RJ Hampton, which was one of our young, prospects. Right. And just one first round pick. That's all it took for us to get Aaron Gordon. And then, so very excited about that pickup. I saw the game last night, very balanced scoring, which is what I anticipate with this new look lineup. Everyone was unselfish.
It seems like, because I said that I had some disappointment in Murray and Porter Jr. over the first part of the season. Porter was injured at the first part of the season, so I get that. But when the season first started, he was really hot at that moment, and then he got injured and kind of cooled off a little bit. And I just have not seen a whole lot of spark out of Murray this season. But when you bring in McGee and you bring in Gordon, that changes that all the way up. So if last night in this game, let's see, Murray had 17 points. That's fine if he has 17 points instead of 25 or 30, because you have Gordon that's going to bring 13.
Yep. So you look at that game. If you look at the stat line, you had 15 from Porter, 13, like you said, from Gordon. You had 16 from Jokic. You had 12 for Will Barton, who slid into the starting lineup. 17 from Murray. You got 20 from JaMychal Green, who also deserves a lot of props. And this team is going to go as he goes. He is the sixth man, and he is the guy that brings the fire, the intensity. He does a lot off of the bench. He's inside scoring. He's shooting threes. He's rebounding. He's the energy. He was a great pickup for Denver as well. Millsap's been dropped to the bench. He's playing really well on that second unit. And I think it'll help him prolong and get himself ready for the playoffs, because he won't be expected to play as many minutes. And then I look at the assist. So if you look at the assist, you had 3 for Porter Jr., you had 1 for Gordon, which was a great assist out to Porter Jr. for 3. You had 8 for Jokic, 3 for Barton, 4 for Murray. What this allows Jamal Murray to do is honestly to take games off. This allows him to be able to, like you said, 13 points, 5 assists, a couple of rebounds, a steal or 2, play less minutes, because he's not going to be asked at this point in the season to do what he did in the bubble. Now, what my hope is that this allows him to be fresher, so that once we get to the playoffs, we're going to be able to have him kind of be bubble Jamal Murray again. That's when we'll need that, when defense is clamped down. But then see, the positive again of Aaron Gordon is he's a guy that's going to guard LeBron. He's the guy that's going to guard Kawhi or Paul George. You may even put him on like a Devin Booker or DeAndre Ayton if we're playing Phoenix. You're going to be able to put him on a lot of different guys, and he's going to be one of your better defenders. He's going to help make up for some of the deficiencies of Michael Porter Jr. at this point, because Michael Porter Jr., even last night, I saw him trying more in defense. And that's because you're looking around you, you're saying, hey, everybody else is playing defense. For me to continue to stay in the starting lineup, hopefully it's starting to click in his mind, you have to play defense. And you have to use that large explosive flame to do more than just shoot threes.
I mean, and he's a great player, but definitely for him to develop further, I think that was great. And both of those, McGee and Gordon, they're very physical players. And so I feel like that's what you guys need if you're going to be facing either of the LA teams. If y'all make it to, the Western Finals, you're going to have to be physical, because you're going to have Braun, you're going to have AD. Kawhi is very physical as well. Paul George is more of a shooter than extremely physical, but Kawhi is something else. So, you definitely need to add that depth. And I guess so Millsap and probably McGee will be sharing minutes is kind of what it's looking like. I think that's great for Millsap. Like you say, that'll give him some time to be fresh for the playoffs. And I like McGee. He was not – when I saw him with LA last year, my thought was he was never one of the ones I was complaining about. Like he was always on top of his game, played his role well, came off the bench and did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, it's great to have him be able to come back to Denver because he started there, so it's great to have him be able to come back, and hopefully he'll finish there. And one other quick thing about Aaron Gordon, he kind of replaces what we lost with Jeremy Grant, which was very integral to what we had last year. So him being able to step in and kind of play that similar role, even being a little bit more athletic than Jeremy Grant, more physical, as you were just saying. So I think that'll be great for them as well. And I see this helping make them more of a threat than people were anticipating them being at the beginning of the season, and even after, the All-Star break.
I agree. And you know what, since you bring that up, I had completely forgotten that Grant played for y'all last year. And that's what I was wondering what was missing. And, he's doing, Detroit's not doing well, but he's doing well in Detroit. He's making a run for most improved player of the season. Very possibly deserves that. That's what that missing piece was. I'm glad you brought that up.
And also funny bit of information on that. Denver actually offered him the same contract as Detroit, but he's flat out told Denver, I want to go to Detroit because I want the opportunity to be the guy.
Well, and that's understandable. If you want to be the face of the franchise, then sometimes you have to take a step back and go to one of those teams that needs somebody like you. Understandable. Well, why don't you go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you. And I just want to say real quick, I'm really jealous y'all got Aaron Gordon because the day before they said the Spurs were going to get him.
And then it's funny, the day before that they said the Celtics were going to get him.
Right. I was like, yeah, because you know what? San Antonio is a franchise like Denver. Like they don't make a whole lot of moves at the trade deadline. We handle all that business usually in the off season. And we, what we roll with through the season is what we started with.
Well, I will say I'm glad that this move did not go you guys' way.
You know what? It's okay because
maybe next time.
My concern was that we would have to give up DeMar because obviously there was not a whole lot of interest in LaMarcus as far as trade value. So I was concerned that we were going to give up DeMar for Aaron Gordon, and I wasn't ready to do that.
Yeah, I think that was a good move for you guys. Not doing that. Sometimes not making a move, even if it's there, is good for you. Like I said, we didn't give up a lot of integral pieces to get Gordon. So that was my first concern. When I first heard about the trade, my first thing was, well, we have to give up.
Right.
And then when I found out, I was like, oh, that's great. That'll work perfectly. So, yeah. But so I won't take everybody's time.
Go ahead.
You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at Cool McCain. Facebook, Cool McCain, and every Friday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Play Caller Sports Talk show. And you can find us at playcallersportstalk.com. We do stream to YouTube as well as to Facebook. But of course, we would love to have you guys hop on playcallersportstalk.com, which will take you to our YouTube page. That way we can have you subscribe, like us, so that way you can get those notifications.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Cool. We'll see you next week.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to move back over to the West, and we have Jay Nelson covering the Houston Rockets. Hey, Jay.
What's up? What's going on?
Well, okay, so you guys made some trade news.
Yes, we did. We did. We gave up Oladipo finally. That was kind of anticipated. And what we got in return, we got first round picks, we got pick swaps. We also got Avery Bradley and Kelly Olnick.
I do think Miami won this trade. I think Oladipo is a great player, and I don't think that while his trade value took a hit, obviously because he only had 1 year left on his contract, and then 2, he had a serious injury. So I know some franchises and possibly you guys were concerned about giving him that big contract. He wants to be someplace where he signs his big contract, 4 to 5 years. Hopefully, maybe a place where he finishes out his career. So I don't blame him for not wanting to be there, but I understand why you guys probably didn't want to give him a 4 or 5 year contract, and you don't know if he's going to be healthy for that.
Exactly. I think the Houston front office was playing it safe. I'm not mad at them for that. To give him a long extension in literally his first year back from a devastating injury, that's too risky. Now, at the same, it's kind of like a situation where both sides aren't wrong. Because I was on Oladipo, I would say hey, I like this spot. I want to stay here for a little bit, I want that long-term deal. But also at the same time, he's just like, wait a second, see, without that injury, we probably would have done it. but because he's coming off that injury, kind of had to come in on like a 1-year prove-it deal, to show that you can actually stay healthy, number one.
Right.
And number two, that you can contribute, The thing is Oladipo, and I heard some people, they hit Oladipo, some Rockets fans, saying it really wasn't. I liked Oladipo when he was with us. I do. I thought that he contributed, I think the main concern was his injury that he came back from and the hesitant to sign him to a long-term deal. At the same time, he's with a long-term deal. There might have been some rumblings going on in the back, hey, trade me if you're not going to give me a long-term deal. In which I'm not mad at that. I liked Oladipo while he was here. I think for what he contributed. But Houston and him are wanting two different things, so I'm not mad at shipping him off. Kelly Olnick, I liked him.
I do too.
I think he would fit. I think that might be your big man backup to Christian Wood, like as far as a veteran presence.
Right.
Avery Bradley, I liked him also. If I'm not mistaken, he was on the Lakers last year that won it all. But he opted out. He opted out due to COVID, right?
Yes.
Yes, he did. But he put up some solid numbers out there, so I'm not mad at that. Giving Wall a little bit of a rest also. And Christian Wood, of course, made his return. He's already back to form. It's like he's been out there grinding and working his way back. I got real respect for Christian Wood. I think he's going to be a huge asset for the foreseeable future.
Okay, so you guys' last game was against the Timberwolves, right?
Yes, Houston 129, Minnesota 107. So we have now won 2 of our last 4.
That's awesome. You know what? Kevin Porter Jr. had a huge game. He had 25 points. You just talked about Olnick. He had a big game. He had 16 points, 4 assists, 4 boards. Brown had 16 points as well. Let's see.
Wall had a double-double here, 13-12.
It looks like an extremely young team to me, besides John Wall, looks like an extremely young team. And John Wall, he may have only had 13 points, but he had 12 assists. So
he had a double-double.
Yeah, his presence was absolutely felt right there. I kind of like the vibe you guys have. You need one more big name.
Yes, we do need one more big name. If we can go out there and at this point, it'll come next year, and I'm fine with it. If we can get one more veteran, not a really old guy, but someone like, kind of in their prime, just getting into their prime and whatnot, somebody that can assist Wall, because, again, it's Wall's team. But I feel like in 3 or 4 years, it'll be Wood's team.
I agree. I do think it will be Wood's team. I think he is just as important as Wall at this point. Let me look right quick. Who is Gerald Green still in the league? Remember when he used to play for you guys?
Yes, we actually cut him during the off season. I'm not sure if he got picked up by anybody. I would like to see him get picked up by somebody. Back when we had the run and shoot going, he was essential in it. And
right.
But Gerald Green, and he's a hometown boy too. He's from H-Town.
Okay.
So
are you interested in seeing him come back?
Yeah. I mean, if in a year or two, I'd like to see him come back. I thought he was great for us.
Right. Awesome.
He was great for us. But I think now Kevin Porter Jr., that guy right there is going to be a head turner. I'm going to say pay attention to that guy right now. So far in the season, he's averaging 16, 2 and 5, 2 rebounds, 5.9 assists per game. So probably about 6 assists per game. Wood's averaging 21 points per game. Wall's averaging 20.5. So it's like the 2-man punch is going to be Wood and Wall. But you're right. We need that third. We need that third cog in the machine.
Right. So who do you guys play this week?
Tonight we have the Grizzlies. It'll be a chance of a get back game for us. If we can learn how to close deals, I think I mentioned this on the sip off. If we can learn how to close deals, we'd win more ball games. Sure you all know we actually played Minnesota back-to-back nights. The previous night, we could have had 2 in a row, and then Houston was shut out for the last 7.5 minutes of the ball game. They had a 16-0 run. We blew a 22-point lead, and Minnesota won and everything. But we got the Grizzlies tonight. I think that things will be a little different now that Wood's back and everything. I think I'm giving us a better shot to win the ball game tonight And especially seeing Olnick's actually out with a injury. Well, he's got like a sore ankle, but Avery Bradley's making his debut tonight.
That'll be very interesting. The score right now is 40-42. You guys are up. There's about 6 minutes left in the half.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what Morant is doing. Morant only has 4 points. Interesting.
Yes.
So y'all are playing some defense.
Exactly. I know that may sound a little foreign to the audience out there, but
Yeah.
But you know what I likened it to, and I mentioned this episodes before, is that Houston actually has improved defensively over the years. One year, Houston actually finished 7th in the league in total defense. I want to say it was about 3 years ago. But here's the thing. Because James Harden didn't play defense,
Right.
They alluded it to Houston doesn't play defense. You can't have selective thinking like that, you know?
Right. Yeah. And that's why I like Gerald Green, because he did play defense.
Yes, he did, and so did Tuck. Yeah. You know,
right? Yeah.
But people overlook them to check for Harden. Okay, look, when it comes to offense, he was the man. Defense, it's the other 4.
Right. Yeah. Completely agree. And then Olnick has 11 points already and 4 boards. So looks like he was a really good pickup for you guys. I like that. I didn't realize that he's been playing that well for you guys.
Okay, then I'm not getting the game up here. I read that he had a sore ankle, but I guess it was a game time decision. But cool,
yeah,
he got 11 points.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if it's on TV right now, but I am. Hold on, let me look. No, it says it's on League Pass.
It's on League Pass, yeah. That's one of the. That's why whenever I move back down to Houston, I can actually watch Rockets games more, because up here in Abilene, I can only get them when they're on prime time.
I completely understand. The Spurs games are generally the second option game on FS.
Yeah,
so always the Mavericks first, because Cuban owns part of Fox Sports, and then the Spurs second.
And then the Spurs, yeah.
So then you guys play the Nets Wednesday, and then the Celtics on Friday, and then the Pelicans on Sunday. Tough schedule for you guys.
Yes, tough upcoming schedule. However, I'm giving this team more of a chance now that we have some new additions and that Wood is back. And I think that's what's going to tell the story, because we all saw the story during that 20-game losing streak. Christian Wood wasn't back. So now let's see how we do now that our main star is back. And then Wall's good. We got Olnick. Olnick's already putting up numbers. Kevin Porter Jr., he definitely needs to be out there a little bit more. You know, I really believe in that kid. I think he's going to be like a tremendous asset come next season. But as far as the rest of the season goes, like I said, it's an evaluation and everything. Right. I just really would like to see, now that Wood is back, how that team is going to be.
Well, and at this point in the season, I would say this. Yeah, we want to see Wood. We want to see how he performs, but also don't overdo it. You know, if you're at 14th right now, you got a good draft pick coming. So don't overplay your 2 stars. One is absolutely injury prone. Wood isn't necessarily injury prone, but John Wall is. So you want to keep both of those people healthy. You're not going to make the playoffs this year, but you know, you can keep some people from making the playoffs, and I think y'all got a good vibe over it. I like it better than the trade deadline, before the trade deadline.
Before the trade deadline, yes, absolutely.
I do,
it's a brand new era, you know. It's just post D'Antoni. We just got to see what turns out. As far as the trade goes, I know on the surface it doesn't look that great. I'm still going to be optimistic and give it a chance and see how those picks turn out. You know,
well, if Olnick is playing like this, then you already are doing okay, honestly.
Exactly, and then see what
Bradley does.
And you know what? If you really sit back and think about it, is you can allude that to just about any trade. Now, we could sit here all day and talk about this team got screwed, this team got fleeced, and absolutely in some trades that does happen. But for others, you got to wait until it pans out, because we've seen blockbuster trades in any sport where the superstar goes over there and does nothing.
Absolutely true. Absolutely.
You know, and then the less than players and the picks that went to the other team, they end up like panning out and then catching up to the team that got the star. So I mean, you know, in sports anything can happen. Again, I know on the surface it looks bad, you know, but I'm just on the side of the fence that says, why don't we see how my picks, because I don't want to be mistaken for no bandwagon fan or nothing like that. You see, I'm still rocking, and we one of the worst in the league. You see what I'm saying? But at the same time, we got to see how those picks pan out. Let's have this conversation in another 2 years. You know, if those picks pan out and we got the 3 seed, well, you tell me who won that trade.
I agree. Absolutely agree. Well, all right, Jay, why don't you go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and good luck on y'all's games this week.
All righty then. Well, you can find me on Twitter at NellyNell13, NELLINEL13. Also, you can catch me on here on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Also on the Sip Off, hosted by Megan Price as well, on Saturdays at 7 p.m. Also, you can catch me on the Sports Gauntlet in the Sports Gauntlet on Facebook, hosted by James Tatum. I'm also an admin in the group, so come mess with us because we talk about all sports. We talking about football. We talking about basketball. Right now, it's mostly football because there's really a football platform. So right now, it's mostly football. But as the episodes pick up, we'll get into baseball, basketball, more college sports, and whatnot. Shout out Craig Davis. Shout out Marshall Hill. My Unconventional Kings fam. One love. Y'all be easy.
Thanks, Jay. We'll see you next week.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me. Y'all be good.
All right. We're going to go ahead and go back to the East. We've got Jen representing the Boston Celtics.
Hey, Miss Megan. How are you tonight?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Talk to me about your team.
So it's been exciting with every team. And the Celtics do not disappoint with the annual tradition, so it seems now, with the almost huge trades. So it just came out a couple of hours ago how close Andre was to signing with us, which would have been pretty cool.
I thought he was going to go there.
I really did too.
Yeah, I did.
But, just like to quote one of the articles I read, the Boston Pops 4th of July celebration. This is our Boston celebration.
I like to pick up that y'all got that. I like the pick too. Yeah. Evan Fourier signed with you or got traded to you guys from Orlando. I wasn't even expecting this. I'm completely shocked out of Orlando. They just kind of blew the team up.
Under the radar.
Yes. And y'all absolutely benefited from that.
Yes. And we are right now because we were down we're playing the Pelicans right now, and we were down by about 10, 15 points. And now we're just down by 2. So, yeah, we're benefiting right now. So, today was his Celtics debut.
And how many points does he have right now?
You would have to ask me that, right, Megan?
I can look it up real quick.
I'm looking it up. It's okay. I was just being a smarty pants.
You know what? That's the Pelicans. He doesn't have any points right now, but he does have 2 rebounds. Tatum has 20, and Walker has 17. So I mean, you guys are still playing really well. I know you got to be happy that you guys retained Marcus Smart, because I know his name was thrown around in the trade mix there a little bit, and I would be scared.
Poor guy.
Yeah, I would be scared to lose Marcus Smart. I love him.
I would be. Yeah, I was not a fan of those trade rumors whatsoever. I don't think he was either. He was like, I kept expecting the worst and hoping for the best.
Right.
So that was, So I'm glad he stayed with us. We need him. They need the positivity he brings and the leadership he does bring to them.
Absolutely. The locker room leadership that he brings to the situation, and just being a veteran, that presence on the court right there. And even if he's not playing at that moment, him over on the sidelines, his presence is still felt. So absolutely.
Exactly.
Glad that you guys were able to retain him. Now, on your last game, you guys played OKC, and that was on Saturday. Jaylen Brown had 25 points. Jason had 27 points. That's huge. But who I want to talk about is y'all's rookie. Pritchard had 12 points, 2 assists, and 7 rebounds. And that was something that I was talking to you. I wanted to see him have more playing time, and they ended up giving him 23 minutes. And I think that's where he needs to be at, 20 to 23 minutes.
I agree. And he plays more old school too, which is what the team needs apparently.
Right.
So, which I appreciate and like a lot.
Right. Absolutely. Who else do you guys play this week?
This week we are playing, so we're playing the Pelicans right now. Then we're playing, I just hit it up, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Then we're playing the Mavs on Wednesday, and then nothing for the rest of the week. So just 2 games this week, kind of a light week.
Well, good. That'll give you guys some rest. I know that the schedule is so condensed. So anytime a team gets a 2-game week right there, that's very pleasant. Now the Mavericks might be kind of a difficult game. They seem like they've kind of gotten back they're falling into their rhythm a little bit more. It seems like Kristaps is kind of, I don't know, he's not exactly the same player before the injury, but he has stepped it up points wise. So good luck on that game. And why don't you let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we'll see you back next week.
Yes, ma'am. You can find me at Unlimited Sports Updated. We hacked on the other page. So hit us up there. We talk everything from basketball to baseball, football, hockey, soccer, WNBA, everything under the moon. I try to bring up swimming because I was a competitive swimmer. And then you can also hit me up on Twitter at Jon Shearer, or you can hit me up on Facebook at Jen Lewis as well.
Thank you so much, Jen. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Megan. Have a great night. Bye.
You too. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move back over to the West. We have Chris covering the Clippers. And if he's not here, we've got Kevin covering the Cavaliers. Hey, Kevin.
Hi, Megan.
How you doing?
I'm fine.
Great. Have you been partaking in all the basketball this week? Just tons and tons of basketball between the 2 tournaments and then all this fake news?
Well, I'm lucky enough to even see NBA here because, as you know, we don't have NBA broadcasting here. So watching university games is also a problem for me. So I haven't been following much. But thank God to my father who bought me a league pass, and now I can just watch NBA.
Okay, and did your team make any news before the trade deadline?
Well, we sold out Drummond. What big news do you need then?
Oh, right. Oh, so after the trade deadline, actually yesterday, Drummond was bought out by the Lakers. How do you feel about that?
It was supposedly gonna happen, and good for the team, good for the player. If he felt he wasn't going to play, and even we thought that it's time for Jared Allen to find his rhythm because I have accepted it's a tank now. So we just have to play with our core unit. That's the young unit which we have. So yes, a good ending to Drummond, but I was not happy with McGee going out because we needed some veteran leadership with McGee. We needed some championship mentality there, but then also McGee went back to Nuggets. So yes, quite hurting, but yes, now we are tanking and we need to focus on our core group.
I don't know if I wouldn't necessarily call it tanking, but I can understand why you would. You guys are still playing decently now. Like the last game that you guys played was against the Kings. It was a really close game. You lost by 2 points, 100-98. And you're still, before that, you guys had 2 different weeks where you both, I think both weeks you went 500. You won 2 games, lost 2 games. So, I wouldn't necessarily consider that tanking, but kind of similar to what the Rockets are having to deal with right now, planning for next year, and keeping your stars and your young core healthy at this point in time.
Also stopping the other teams to go up in the plane.
Right, yeah. Yes, definitely. So who do you guys play next?
So right now, today we have a game against Utah, and it has still not started yet. Then we have got Philadelphia 76ers, and then we have got Heat against Cavs, and then San Antonio Spurs.
So obviously the Spurs are probably going to be the easiest team on your schedule right there. And that hurts to say, but it's honest. The Sixers are such a tough team. Utah, you can almost count that as a loss. Just even if you weren't Cleveland, you wouldn't be able to count that as a loss much. But I do think that the game against San Antonio is possibly winnable. from what I saw out of San Antonio last week against the Clippers, I was not super impressed. The second game was better than the first game, but it was still we didn't win any game on that back-to-back. Now we did come back and beat the Bulls, but the Bulls without Vucevic, so we'll see if we're able to do that again. I'm just happy that we retained DeMar, and we'll see how we finish out this season. I think that we're going to be pursuing. I saw a rumor that we might pursue Jared Allen in the offseason. Yeah, I know. I see that.
We are not going to give him, though. We are not going to give him any means. No, come on. Shut up.
No, I like him a lot.
Yeah, I'm watching the Spurs and the Kings right now, 35-40. I should feel pretty delighted that we are going to have a really easy win. Anyways.
We're the 35 or they're 4 or we're 40?
Yeah, you are 35-40. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see. It just seems kind of weird. Not that LaMarcus was playing a whole lot for us. It just seems like we've got a little bit of a different energy. I think maybe DeMar just kind of being on the trade block kind of messed with the energy in the locker room. I'm not really sure, but hopefully we're able to turn it around and at least beat the Kings tonight. That would be nice.
Yeah,
we're still in seventh. We're not a nobody team, but if we make it to the playoffs, I consider it a successful season.
Of course, I am considering them in a play-in though, not the playoffs. So first get in the play-in, then you can go for playoffs. Because direct playoffs is quite tough for you guys. Same for us. We get to in play-ins. We are lucky. We are really, really lucky. Or else we should just tank it. That's it.
Right. Agreed. Well, good luck on your games this week, Kevin. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we'll see you back next week.
Yes, of course. You can find me on the KevPod on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I have got my new episode now with Gerald Grassford, the Lakers rep for NBA Carousel. So you can go and check that out. And yes, let's meet soon again next week.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, guys, we're going to switch it back to the West Coast. We have Chris with the Clippers.
Hey, Megan, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Christmas came early for us on Thursday.
Yeah, I see. So you're happy with getting Rondo?
Yes, and it's funny because we've always talked about with this team, the biggest thing they needed was a lead guard. They need a guy with leadership and toughness. We kind of threw some names out earlier. We talked about Derrick Rose a couple weeks ago, and other scenarios. But to get a guy like a Rajon Rondo who is perfect for this team was well needed.
I agree. I think that Rondo's going to be happy to be back in LA, even if it's not on the Lakers. Clippers are absolutely a contender. You guys are in third right now. You're 31-16. Hold on one second. And so the Suns are right above you, and they're 31-14. So you guys are not far behind at all. And absolutely, that was the main thing as far as the narrative to the Clippers over this past season and last season was you guys needed a veteran guard. So I think this is a good move. Also, I think Lou Williams hadn't quite performed the same way he had in the last couple of seasons. And so that made him the bargaining chip. Not that he's not a good player. He is a good player. And he will also bring that veteran presence that he has to the Hawks. So maybe it'll just kind of revitalize both of their careers.
Yeah, because it's what Lou was like death taxes and him giving you 18 off the bench. But
right.
This year definitely didn't pan out that way. And like you said, I think it was just this year. It was just different. And like you said, and it was the perfect time to unload him. And hopefully, like you said, he goes back home to Atlanta, and hopefully he'll do good for Nate McMillan and the Hawks. And definitely wish him so much luck. And man, definitely.
He'll be all right. He'll be a Magic City.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
he'll be all right.
Yeah,
right. So talk to me about you guys' last game. You guys played the Sixers and you were able to get a win. Kawhi had 28 points, 4 assists, 4 boards. Kawhi doing Kawhi stuff. Paul George had 24 points, 9 assists, 9 boards. And then you had Terrence Mann with 23 points. That's huge. Terrence Mann has been showing out the last couple of weeks.
Yes, he's another guy that has emerged, and actually, the other night he had his career high with 23 points.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so definitely, and then he was the guy that still has Rajon Rondo's college card, his collector's card. So yeah, he definitely has come alive. And that's one thing too, where and when you look at the loss of Lou Will and that production off the bench. And it's almost like you're looking at now where it's almost like it's back committee in a sense where you look at if you can get, that kind of production, maybe a couple of games out of Terrence, you'll get some from Marcus, Reggie Jackson, so it's almost going to be like a collective effort when it comes to the bench. So definitely if you can get those three pieces together, maybe not at every game, but at least a fraction of what we had, in previous years with Montrez and Lou. So yeah.
I think Man definitely is filling some of that void that y'all feel with not having Montrez there. And he definitely has my favorite quote of the season already. Who did he tell? Lace it up because it's going to be a long night. He into one of the locker rooms. I can't remember who he was playing. Yeah. I love that. I love that confidence. So who do y'all play the rest of the week?
So tonight, Milwaukee.
Oh, okay. Tough game.
Yeah. So that's going to be a tough game. Then Orlando comes to town. So the new revamped tanking for Cade, possibly Orlando Magic. Tough game on Thursday. We play the newly Denver Nuggets, Aaron Gordon and the boys, and JaVale McGee and the Denver Nuggets. And then we got our cross the hall rival, our big brothers. On Easter Sunday. It shouldn't be, luckily in this meeting there will be no LeBron or AD. So it still would be a matchup. I want to definitely Trez. You can see what he does in that game. And, as far as, what he's going to, try to stick it to his old team. And but yeah. Yep.
Well, and you guys gave it to us last week. We had two. First game was a blowout. I think we lost by 31, 32 points. Now, the second game was closer, but we still lost by like double digits. I think it was like 10, 11 points. So, man, Kawhi.
I know, right?
Dang it. I watched the game, and and the blowout, I turned it by the end. I was like, you know what? And this is why we miss him.
Right.
This is why we miss him for sure. Now, you said, who's your last game of the week? Oh, LA. So how do you feel about them signing Drummond? Do you feel like that is going to keep them higher up in the rankings or in the standings while they wait for AD and LeBron to get healthy?
And it's funny, it's something I've been struggling with as well, because the Lakers are in such a weird spot, because I tell people, I think you panic when you're at the sixth spot, because I don't think you want to be in the play-in tournament. I know a lot of people say it doesn't matter, but it does matter, because that's kind of like a do or die situation, in my personal opinion. The thing is, it's just, I don't know if they're going to per se keep them afloat, but my biggest thing is once they get to six, this is when panic mode. This is when you get to a point where, hey, somebody needs to come back, either AD or LeBron. Somebody's going to have to step up, or Kuz's going to have to, step up. And, Trez, I think he's been balling lately at him, especially now in the starting role. So he's been contributing pretty heavy. And the thing with Drummond, what's so crazy? And that's one thing, too, where you look at now he's in a new situation. He might fall out. We talked about other guys. We talked about Blake Griffin earlier. He ain't dunked in 2 years, but once he got to Brooklyn, he dunked again. So
he did. Now, I'm not completely sold on Griffin. I will eat a little pro and say that, he did have a good game, but I will say this. He's only had one good game, against the Pistons. So,
But I think with him being with Drummond being in a new situation could definitely help, and kind of being in a situation where he's playing meaningful basketball, which absolutely. I think that definitely can help your psyche, and with your psyche being better, you play better.
Absolutely. Kyrie's happy. He's balling. Harden's happy. He's balling. So that absolutely does make a difference. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Chris. We missed you the last couple of weeks. Hopefully we get to see you again soon. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you.
Yes, indeed. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, under Couch Coach Live. We have a live show every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Couch Coach Live. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere social media, look up Couch Coach Live.
Thank you so much. We'll see you again.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and switch back to the East with our final guest with a former team of Andre Drummond. We have Dom representing the Detroit Pistons.
Yo.
What's up? What's up? You want to talk about the crumbs in the air? And for those of y'all that don't know, Dom and we've been friends for a long time. And whenever Drummond got traded to Cleveland, he asked me that day, "What did you get? What did we get?" I said, "The crumbs in the air," because you got nothing in return.
Crumbs in all the air.
Yeah. So how do you feel about Drummond going to LA?
I'm kind of indifferent. If the Lakers win a title, which they might, like chances are the finals, like if it's not the Lakers and the Nets, it's kind of really, and because otherwise, like battle of the the whole way it went down, like these sorts of things never would have happened. Like all these stars, like, oh, you're bought out. Oh, I'm gonna go over here to this contender. Right. Oh, you're bought out. Oh, Blake Griffin.
Right. How do you feel about the Blake Griffin? Because he played you guys last night? Dunked on y'all, then stared down the bench.
He also was it last night or the night?
Night before, maybe.
They beat us a couple nights. No, we lost to the Wizards most recently.
Oh, okay.
That did beat us, and he was actually the second leading scorer.
Okay. Yeah, he was. 17 points.
Got elbowed, but it was a weak elbow. Did you see it yet? I got all excited. I saw it on the Bleacher Report banner note, and I just
pretty soft.
Isaiah Stewart elbows Blake Griffin and is ejected. I'm like, oh man, why am I not watching this game? And then I went and looked, and I was like, wow, he got ejected for that.
Right. Yeah. Well, we know the refs are kind of soft this year for sure. So, talk to me about your team. What do you think the Pistons have going on? Anything positive? Who do you play this week?
We are beating. It's funny because I was watching it. I'm like, oh, I want to watch this and not try to be on the podcast and watching it. But literally, like a minute and a half before I came on, it went to halftime. We're kind of thumping on the Raptors. I think we're up like 12.
Okay. Well, and that's a decent
thing. He went and sat down halfway through the second quarter with like 4 points and 3 fouls, 3 points and 3 fouls.
Ooh.
I wanted to move him.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know what? You guys do have a possible most improved.
Oh! Wait, you were just talking about it. Boston got who unexpectedly? Aaron Gordon, right?
No, they got Fourier.
The other guy because Orlando went fire sale.
They did. They just blew up their whole starting lineup. I have no idea why they did that, honestly.
Like we're crappy. We should have been trying to do that too. I thought
they were hurt. They were hurt. Gordon was out for a while. Foles, is that who they have? They had somebody on their roster that was hurt, that was playing really well at the beginning of the season. And whenever the season first started, they were like in number 4. Like they had a really good start of the season, which I know that doesn't count for anything, almost doesn't count, and that's basically like what the start of the season is like. But I think the injury bug hit them so hard that they just said, forget it.
Like 10 years. Kemba has aged like 6 or 7 years in the last like year and a half.
He has. I hate to admit that. Now, he does still put up really decent numbers, but it's not Kemba numbers. So, whenever we criticize Kemba, it's not that he's not still really good. He's definitely like a mid-tier great, but he's not that big name that he was before.
He was like last year. had that weird. It wasn't even an. Had some like.
He had a stem cell. He had a stem cell surgery.
Yeah.
So and something strange. And so, if you're able to come back and just be healthy in life in general and still play ball and still do what you love, that's cool. So who else do you guys play this week?
Blazers on Wednesday, Wizards on Thursday, Knicks on Saturday.
Blazers, I see them winning. You could possibly beat the Knicks. It just kind of depends on their energy.
Loss, and maybe win, but why?
For morale.
The thing, like these young kids, they either don't know how to tank or they refuse to. It's just like we play bad enough defense.
I think Grant has the heart of a winner. He wants to win, And so you don't think so?
No, he's just happy being the guy getting the most field goal attempts. He was the one, I thought. I heard rumors. I was like, wow, really? Do it right now. Boston offering multiple picks for Jeremy Grant. I'm like, do it right now.
You would be happy getting rid of him?
Yeah. If it's multiple picks, like and that was the thing. Like there was rumors out there for 2, 3, maybe 4 guys, and they were all guys we signed as free agents. Like anytime you can get anything for a free agent, I like Jeremy Grant. He's a good kid. He's a above average to good player. Now he just has really good stats on a bad team, and he's getting the most shot attempts. That's all.
I can understand that, and especially the free agency talk. That's what I was and I'm still nervous about with DeMar. I don't want to see him leave. He's on the last year of his contract. I want him to stay in San Antonio, but obviously,
he came
back with a better attitude. He came back with a better attitude this season. What did you say?
I said at first you did. For a while, you did not.
No, that first, and even probably half of last season. What he did in the bubble sold me on him, honestly, because he had to carry the team, him and DeJounte. LaMarcus was at home hurt. He was actually rehabbing with Timmy. And since then, it seems like he's been happy to be in San Antonio. And I don't know if it's his relationship with Becky, because it seems like Becky is really close with DeMar and DeJounte, in my opinion. And I actually saw in a game, not last week, but the week before, DeJounte and Pop were kind of getting into it, going head to head. And so I don't know if it's like this, the core that we have at this moment gels so well with Becky that he decided to stay with us a little bit longer. But I was concerned that, because he can walk next year and we'll get nothing for him. Then what do we do? Does anybody want to come to San Antonio and play?
That's why I was all about selling whoever. Jeremy, sure.
Right. I can understand that. But I wasn't ready to see DeMar walk personally.
Literally all these guys.
You said all of them. That's what I said last year. If I could get Kuzma, I was like, you can just have everybody on the roster. But why don't you go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you. We hope to see you back again soon. Sometimes you. Yeah,
I'm like a special guest star with what do they call it? Recurring role.
Reoccurring role, right? We'll let everybody know where they can find you.
Here, hosted by you on the Carousel, occasionally on the Sip Off, also hosted by you. Sports Gauntlet, exclusive sports, not on Twitter, Instagram, I'm a lurker, Facebook, my name. That's it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Dom. We'll see you again.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for this week. Let you guys get to watching your games. Good luck on your teams in the tournament. Shout out Texas girls. We won our game last night against Maryland. Good night, y'all.